The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly stretched 4 kilometers in every direction. Lights from 1,000 different worlds floated above the delegates like captured stars. Representatives from 347 species sat in their designated sections, some breathing oxygen, others swimming in tanks of methane, and a few existing as pure energy contained in magnetic bottles. Ambassador Hannah Park stood at the central speaking platform. She was a small woman with gray streaks in her black hair. Behind her, Admiral Teho Kwan waited in silence. His uniform was simple compared to the golden robes and jeweled armor worn by other species. He kept his hands folded behind his back, and his face showed nothing. Hannah had practiced this speech for months. Earth had waited 40 years for this moment. 40 years of following every rule. 40 years of paying unfair taxes. 40 years of limiting their ships and weapons to levels the Council demanded. Today, humanity would finally receive full membership in the Galactic Council. Honored delegates, Hannah began, her voice steady and clear. The United Earth Government formally requests elevation from observer status to full membership. We have fulfilled every requirement. We have signed every treaty. We have proven ourselves worthy partners in galactic civilization. She pressed a button, and holographic displays appeared showing Earth's perfect compliance record. Trade agreements honored. Military limitations respected. Environmental standards exceeded. Diplomatic protocols followed without a single violation. The hall was quiet for a moment. Then High Arbiter Marath rose from his elevated throne. He was ancient, even by galactic standards. His species had ruled the Council for 6,000 years. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes held the cold light of distant stars. "You have presented your case," Marath said. His voice echoed through the hall. "Now, the Council shall respond." Hannah felt hope rise in her chest. She had worked so hard for this. Morath smiled. It was not a kind smile. The Council finds humanity... amusing. Laughter erupted from dozens of delegations. The sound crashed against Hannah like a wave. She stood frozen, unable to understand what was happening. Delegate Vornis of the Keth Empire rose from his seat. He was tall and covered in black scales, with 4 arms and teeth like broken glass. 40 years? He bellowed. My species waited 4,000 years for membership. And these mayflies think they deserve a seat among us? More laughter. Some delegates pounded their appendages against their desks in mockery. They live such short lives, another delegate called out. By the time one of them learns anything useful, they die and must start over. Their planet is mostly water, shouted a third. They evolved from fish and still cannot breathe underwater. What a failed design. The insults came faster now. Delegates competed to deliver the most cutting remarks. They mocked human art as primitive. They called human science elementary. They laughed at human ships, human weapons, human music, human food. Marath raised his hand and the hall fell silent. We have prepared a special presentation, he announced, to remind our human guests of their place. The lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared, showing footage from Earth's early space program. Rockets exploding on launch pads. Shuttles breaking apart. Astronauts dying in the vacuum of space. The assembly laughed at each failure. They cheered when humans died. Some delegates threw food at the images. Hannah felt tears burning in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Behind her, Admiral Teho remained perfectly still. Only his eyes moved, slowly scanning the laughing faces, memorizing each one. When the presentation ended, Morath spoke again. The Council has voted. Humanity's request for membership is denied. Your observer status shall be extended for another 100 years. Additionally, trade tariffs on Earth's goods shall increase by 400%. The hall erupted in applause. Hannah's hands trembled. 40 years of work. 40 years of sacrifice. All for nothing. Worse than nothing. They had been humiliated before the entire galaxy. She stepped forward to the speaking platform. May I respond? She asked. Marath waved his hand dismissively. If you must. I want to be clear, Hannah said. Her voice was calm now, dangerously calm. This is the Council's final decision? There's no appeal? No negotiation? Vornis laughed. Negotiations are for equals. Little human. Know your place. Reth nodded in agreement. The matter is closed. Return to your small planet and be grateful we allow you to exist. Hannah looked at Admiral Tejo. Something passed between them. An understanding that needed no words. She turned back to face the assembly. I understand, she said. I thank the Council for making its position absolutely clear. There will be no confusion about what happened here today. She bowed slightly, a gesture of politeness that meant nothing now. Then she walked toward the exit, Admiral Tejo falling into step beside her. As they left, Vornis shouted after them, Run home, little humans. Tell your people that the galaxy has no place for such weak creatures. The laughter followed them out of the hall. In the transport ship returning to Earth, Hannah finally let her tears fall. Not from sadness anymore, but from rage. Admiral Tejo sat across from her. He had not spoken since before the session began. Now he reached into his uniform and pulled out a small communication device. This is Admiral Kwan, he said into the device. Authorization code Prometheus 7. The Council has given their answer. A voice crackled back. Understood, Admiral. What are your orders? Tejo looked at Hannah. She wiped her eyes and nodded. Begin Phase 1, the Admiral said. Recall all human ships from galactic space. Cease all diplomatic communications. Activate the hidden shipyards. Yes, Admiral. And the waiting period? 3 months, Tejo replied. Give them 3 months to forget about us. Let them believe we accepted our humiliation. Then we show them what humanity truly is. He ended the transmission and looked out the window at the stars. They think we are weak because we followed their rules, he said quietly. They think we are primitive because we showed them only what we wanted them to see. They will learn the truth soon enough. Hannah straightened in her seat. The tears were gone. In their place was something harder, something colder. They laughed at our dead astronauts, she said. They cheered when our people died, as Tejo agreed. They did. They will not laugh for much longer. The Admiral allowed himself a small smile. No, he said. They will not. The transport ship accelerated toward Earth, leaving the Galactic Council far behind. In the Great Assembly Hall, the delegates continued their celebration. Congratulating themselves on putting the humans in their place, they had no idea what they had just started. 3 months passed, and the galaxy forgot about Earth. The council delegates returned to their normal business of trading, arguing and looking down on lesser species. Sometimes they told jokes about the human ambassador who had cried. Sometimes they played the footage of exploding rockets at parties. But mostly, they did not think about Earth at all. This was exactly what Admiral Tejo wanted. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea. In a facility that appeared on no map, General Yuna Choi walked through corridors of steel and light. She was 50 years old, with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too. She stopped at a massive door marked with warnings in 12 languages. A scanner read her eye, her fingerprint, and her voice. The door opened. Inside, Dr. Sung Woo-han waited beside a device that looked like a black sphere floating in empty space. He was young for a scientist of his rank, barely 40, with messy hair and glasses that he constantly pushed up his nose. Is it ready? General Yuna asked. Dr. Sungwoo nodded. The nullifier is complete. We tested it yesterday on a minor trade agreement with the Velen Dominion. The agreement simply ... disappeared. From their records, from ours, from the quantum archives. As if it never existed. General Yuna stared at the black sphere. And it can erase anything. Any treaty? Any contract? Anything registered in the Galactic Archive system? Every species uses it because it was supposed to be unbreakable. They built their entire legal system on the assumption that what is written can never be erased. They were wrong. Yes, Doctor, Sungwoo said with a small smile. They were wrong. Above the Earth, hidden behind the moon where no alien satellite could see, the shipyards came alive. For 40 years, humanity had built two fleets. One fleet was small and weak, designed to satisfy council inspections. The other fleet was something else entirely. Captain Daehan Lim stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, the flagship of humanity's true navy. The ship was 5 kilometers long, painted in black, that absorbed all light. It carried weapons that the galaxy had never seen around the Indomitable. 399 other ships waited in darkness, destroyers, carriers, battleships, all of them built in secret, all of them far beyond anything the Council believed humans could create. Admiral Teo's face appeared on the main screen. Captain Lim, report. All ships are ready, Admiral. Crews are trained. Weapons are loaded. We await your order. Could maintain radio silence. When we move fast. Yes, Admiral. The crews want to know. Why did we hide our strength for so long? Why did we let them insult us? Admiral Tejo was quiet for a moment. Because we are not conquerors, Captain. We never wanted war. We only wanted to live in peace, to trade, to explore. We showed them weakness because we hoped they would. Show us kindness. They showed us contempt instead. Yes, and now they will learn what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. The screen went dark. Captain Daehan looked out at the hidden fleet. 400 ships. 40 years of secret work. All because humanity had hoped for the best, but prepared for the worst. On Earth, the Parliament met in emergency session. Every nation had sent its leader. Every leader had seen the recording from the Galactic Assembly. Every leader had watched their species be mocked and humiliated. Ambassador Hannah stood before them. She was different now. The softness was gone from her eyes. The hope had been replaced by something harder. They gave us their answer, she said. They told us to know our place. They laughed at our dead. They increased our taxes and extended our servitude for another century. The chamber was silent. I come before you now to ask a simple question. Do we accept this? Do we bow our heads and wait another 100 years for them to laugh at us again? Or do we stand up and demand the respect that every thinking being deserves? President Kim stood. He was old, the oldest leader in the chamber, and when he spoke, everyone listened. My grandfather died on a rocket bound for the moon, he said. They showed his death for entertainment. They cheered. His voice broke, then steadied. I vote for war. One by one, every nation voted. The result was unanimous. For the first time in human history, all of Earth was united in purpose. That night, General Yuna briefed Admiral Tejo on humanity's hidden assets. The list was long. Faster-than-light engines that worked on principles the galaxy had never discovered. Shields that operated in dimensions other species did not know existed. Weapons that could crack planets. How did we develop all this in secret? The Admiral asked. We learned from them, General Yuna explained. Every technology they shared with us, we studied. Every limitation they placed on us, we worked around. They thought we were slow learners. In truth, we were playing dumb while we studied their weaknesses, and they never suspected. Why would they? To them, we were just clever animals. They never imagined we could surpass them. Admiral Tejo smiled grimly. Their arrogance is our greatest weapon. Final piece of the plan came together when Dr. Sungwoo explained the nullifier to the full military council. The Galactic Council has power because of treaties, he said. Every species has signed thousands of agreements that limit their weapons, their borders, their actions. These treaties are stored in the Galactic Archive. Protected by quantum encryption that was supposed to be unbreakable, he pointed to the black sphere floating on the table. This device can erase any treaty we choose. When we activate it, every agreement that limits humanity will disappear. But more importantly, every protection that other species enjoy will also vanish. No more borders, no more rules. No more laws preventing the strong from crushing the weak. It will be chaos, one general said. Guess Dr. Sungwoo agreed. Beautiful, useful chaos. In chaos, the strong rise. And I promise you, when the galaxy sees what we can do, they will know that humanity is strong. 2 weeks before the planned attack, Captain Dahayan received a message from his sister back on Earth. She had watched the assembly recording. She had seen the aliens laugh at humanity. "Make them remember us," she wrote. "Make them remember that they should never have laughed." Captain Dahayan saved the message. He would read it again before the battle. In the darkness behind the moon, 400 ships waited. Their crews were ready. Their weapons were armed. 40 years of humiliation was about to end. Admiral Belwame. Tejo sent one final message to the fleet. Called us mayflies. Short-lived. Insignificant. They forgot that mayflies have survived for 300 million years. When the dinosaurs died, the mayflies lived. When the mountains crumbled, the mayflies lived. We will show them why. The ships began to move, still running silent, still hidden in shadow. The galaxy had no idea what was coming, but they would learn soon enough. The Galactic Commerce Summit was the biggest event of the year. Representatives from every major species gathered on Velos Prime to discuss trade, sign agreements, and remind each other of their importance. The Great Hall was filled with music, food, the quiet sound of fortunes being made. High Arbiter Morith sat on his throne, accepting compliments from lesser delegates. Vornis of the Keth Empire stood nearby, boasting about his fleet's latest conquests. Everything was as it should be. Then a servant approached Moroth with a message. "High Arbiter, the humans have requested emergency speaking time." Moroth raised an eyebrow. "The humans, they still exist?" "Apparently so, High Arbiter. They say it is urgent," Vornis laughed. "Perhaps they have come to apologize for boring us at the last assembly. Let them speak. We could use the entertainment." Morith nodded. "Grant them 5 minutes. No more." The great display screen flickered to life. Ambassador Gian Beek appeared. She was young, barely 30, with cold eyes and a face that showed no emotion. Behind her stood Admiral Tejo Kwan, his uniform now decorated with symbols that no one in the galaxy recognized. "Honored delegates," Gian began. "I bring a message from the United Earth government." "Speak quickly, human," Morith said. "We have important matters to discuss. This will not take long." Gian held up a document. "I am holding the Treaty of First Contact, signed 47 years ago between Earth and the Galactic Council. This treaty required humanity to limit its military, pay special taxes, and accept observer status for a minimum of 100 years. Yes, Vornis interrupted. "We all know this. What is your point?" "My point is simple." Gian tore the document in half. "This treaty is now void." Silence fell over the Great Hall. "I am also voiding the Treaty of Trade Limitations, which prevented humans from selling advanced technology. The Treaty of Military Restrictions, which limited our fleet size. The Treaty of Territorial Boundaries, which confined us to our home system. And every other agreement that humanity has signed with this council." Morath stood from his throne. "You cannot do this. Treaties registered with the Galactic Archive cannot be voided. It is impossible." "You are correct." Admiral Tejo spoke for the first time. "They cannot be voided. They can, however, be erased." At that moment, deep within the archive vault beneath the assembly hall, Commander Hyon Sukong pressed a button on a small black device. The nullifier activated across the galaxy. In every archive, every database, every quantum-locked storage system, documents began to disappear. Treaties that had stood for thousands of years simply ceased to exist. The words faded from pages. The files vanished from computers. The memories remained, but the legal documents were gone. Alarms screamed throughout the hall. Delegates rushed to their communication devices, receiving frantic messages from their home worlds. "What have you done?" Morith screamed at the screen. "We have reset the galaxy," Gian replied calmly. "Every treaty that limited humanity is gone. But so is every treaty that protected you. The agreement that prevents the Keth from invading Velen's space? Erased. The treaty that stops the Sylvan from claiming your mining rights? Gone. Every promise, every protection, every law that held this galaxy together has been removed." Vornis checked his own devices. His scales turned pale. "She speaks the truth," The archive is empty. Everything is gone, Chaos Moreth whispered. You have created chaos. Yes, Admiral Tejo agreed. And in chaos, the strong survive. Would you like to know how strong humanity really is? The lights in the hall flickered. Every delegate received the same emergency alert. 400 unidentified warships had just appeared in the Velos system. They had not been detected until they dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above the planet. Those ships are impossible, Vornis said, staring at the sensor readings. Nothing moves that fast. Nothing is that well armed. Nothing you knew about, Jean corrected. For 40 years you thought we were building tiny patrol boats. You thought our technology was primitive? You thought we were exactly what you expected us to be. You were wrong. On the screen, Admiral Tejo stepped forward. Humanity is no longer asking permission to exist. We are no longer begging for your approval. We are no longer accepting your insults, your mockery, or your contempt. He leaned closer to the camera. You laughed at us. You showed footage of our dead and cheered. You told us to know our place. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of 400 warships. Now you will learn that our place is wherever we choose to be. Ah! The transmission continued with a list of demands. Full council membership? All tariffs removed. A public apology broadcast to every inhabited world. And compensation for 40 years of exploitation. These demands are outrageous. Morith shouted. We will never agree to such terms. Then we are at war, Gion said simply. And you should know that the Keth Empire insulted us most viciously at the assembly. They will be our first target. Vornis felt fear for the first time in his long life. You cannot threaten us. The Keth have the largest fleet in the galaxy. You have 1,000 ships, Admiral Tejo said. We have weapons that ignore your shields. We have engines faster than your sensors. We have spent 40 years studying your weaknesses while you ignored our strengths. He smiled, and there was no warmth in it. The Keth Empire will fall within 1 week. Every species that wishes to avoid the same fate should consider their next actions very carefully. The transmission ended. In the Great Hall, chaos erupted. Delegates screamed at each other. Some tried to contact their homeworlds. Others ran for the exits. Morith stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. Vornis grabbed his communicator. All Keth ships, prepare for battle. The humans have declared war. Above Velos Prime, the human fleet held position. They did not fire. They did not need to. The mere fact of their existence had already changed everything. In the archive vault, Commander Hyensu and his team quietly made their way to extraction. Their mission was complete. The nullifier had worked. The galaxy would never be the same. Ambassador Gian looked out the window of her ship at the planet below. 40 years of humiliation. 40 years of insults. 40 years of playing weak while they grew strong. Is this the only way? She asked Admiral Tejo. We tried peace, he replied. We tried patience. We tried following their rules. They laughed at us. He turned to face her. Sometimes the only language the powerful understand is power. And now? Now we show them what humanity can do. And when it is over, we will build something better. A galaxy where no species is mocked for being young. Where no planet is exploited for being weak. Where respect is given, not demanded. Gia nodded slowly. Then let us begin. The fleet began to move. 400 ships, black as the void between stars, carrying the fury of a species that had waited too long. The war had started, and the galaxy would never laugh at humanity again. The Battle of Keth Prime lasted 6 hours. It should have been impossible. The Keth Empire had 1,000 warships, veterans of 100 conflicts. Their admiral had conquered 12 worlds. Their weapons had never failed. None of it mattered. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel, already firing. Their weapons moved through Keth's shields as if the shields did not exist. Energy beams that should have bounced away instead cut through armor like water through paper. Lieutenant. Bora Shin flew her fighter through the chaos. She was 28 years old, small for a pilot, with quick hands and quicker reflexes. Around her, Keth dreadnoughts burned. "Target the command ship," her squadron leader ordered. "Take out their admiral." Dora checked her sensors. The Keth command ship was massive, 10 kilometers long, bristling with weapons. In any normal battle, it would have taken an entire fleet to destroy. Biora destroyed it in 12 minutes. Her fighter moved too fast for Keth's targeting systems. Her weapons found weaknesses that Keth engineers did not know existed. She flew through their defenses like they were standing still. The command ship exploded in a ball of white fire. The Keth fleet, already confused, fell into complete disorder. "Admiral Vornis is dead," someone reported on the fleet channel. "The Keth are surrendering." Biora looked at the debris field that had been the most powerful ship in the Keth fleet. She felt no joy. Only a cold satisfaction that the species who had cheered at human death was now learning what death felt like. The battle was broadcast live across the galaxy. Every species with access to communication networks watched the Keth Empire fall. They saw human weapons tear through defenses that had been called invincible. They saw human ships move at speeds that scientists had declared impossible, and they saw something else. After the battle ended, when the Keth survivors drifted helpless in their damaged ships, the humans did not destroy them. Instead, rescue vessels moved in to save the wounded.
"Why are you helping us?"
A Keth captain asked when human medics boarded his ship. "We are your enemies. You were our enemies," the medic replied. "Now you are just people who need help." The message spread quickly. Humanity was not interested in genocide. They wanted justice, not extinction. 2 days after the fall of the Keith, Timral Kinam, you led the Second Fleet to the Keith border worlds. 3 species had been living under Keth's occupation for centuries, used as slaves and resources. The treaties that had allowed this occupation were gone now, erased by the Nullifier. When the human ships arrived, the slaves expected another invasion. Instead, Admiral Keenum broadcast a single message: "You are free. The Keith no longer have any legal claim to your worlds. If anyone tries to enslave you again, call us. We will answer." The slaves did not believe it at first. Freedom was a word they had forgotten. But when the human ships departed without taking anything, without demanding payment, without establishing control, the truth became clear. Humanity had come to liberate, not conquer. The news reached the remaining galactic powers. The Velen, Dominion, oldest and proudest of the Council species, watched their empire crumble. Without the treaties that protected their claims, their subject worlds began to revolt. The slaves they had held for millennia rose up with weapons they had hidden for generations. High Arbiter Moreth called an emergency session of whatever remained of the Council. "We must unite against the humans," he declared. "If we combine our fleets, we can defeat them." But half the species refused. Some had already seen what human weapons could do and wanted no part of that war. Others had been quietly oppressed by the Council powers and saw opportunity in chaos. A few had reached out to humanity in secret, hoping to become allies rather than enemies. Empress Talitha of the Sylvan Collective was one of these. She contacted Admiral Tejo through hidden channels. "I have information you need," she said. "In exchange, I want protection for my people." "Hey, what information?" "The reason the Council always kept humanity weak, the reason they laughed at you, the reason they feared what you might become." Admiral Tejo listened as Talitha explained the truth. Centuries ago, when humans first developed radio signals, the Council had detected them. Scientists predicted that humanity would advance quickly, too quickly. Within a few thousand years, humans would surpass every species in the galaxy, so the Council decided to slow them down. They manipulated human development. They introduced themselves as wise elders offering guidance, then used that trust to limit human technology. They placed restrictions and requirements on everything, keeping humanity busy with rules while other species stayed ahead. "They were never planning to accept you as equals," Talitha said. "The 100-year extension was just another delay. They would have kept you in place forever." Admiral Tejo felt something cold settle in his chest. They sabotaged us. For centuries. They were afraid of what you would become, and now they are learning that they were right to be afraid. The alliance between humanity and the Sylvan Collective was announced the next day. Other species followed. The galaxy was splitting into two factions, those who stood with the old council and those who stood with humanity. The final battle came 3 weeks later. At the Velen homeworld, Morith had gathered every ship that still followed the council. 2,000 vessels, the largest fleet assembled in 500 years. Against them came the human armada, reinforced now by Sylvan ships and vessels from a dozen other allied species. Barra, now promoted to captain, led the fighter squadrons. Admiral Tejo commanded from the Indomitable. Ambassador Jianan watched from a safe distance, recording everything for history. The battle lasted for hours. Human ships lunged through Velen defenses with brutal efficiency. Allied forces targeted key installations while human weapons disabled the largest dreadnoughts. Morith watched from his command center as his fleet, the pride of 6,000 years of Velen supremacy, was torn apart. When it was over, Morith surrendered. He had no choice. His fleet was destroyed. His allies had abandoned him. His empire was in ruins. Admiral Tejo accepted the surrender personally. He looked at the being who had waved dismissively at humanity's ambassador, who had told her to know her place. "You thought we were weak because we were young," Tejo said. "You thought we were primitive because we were different. You underestimated us because it was easier than respecting us." Morith said nothing. There was nothing to say. Your empire's over. Your slaves are free. Your power is broken. But we are not going to destroy you. We are not going to exterminate your species. We are going to do something far worse. What? We are going to let you live. We are going to let you watch as the species you oppressed build better lives. We are going to let you see a galaxy where your kind no longer rules. And every day, for the rest of your very long life, you will remember that you could have had humanity as an ally. Instead, you chose to make us your enemy. Admiral Tejo turned and walked away. Behind him, Morith fell to his knees, understanding at last the price of his arrogance. The war was over. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year had passed since the war ended. The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly looked different now. The throne, where Morath once sat, was gone. In its place was a circular table where representatives sat as equals. Above them, the flags of 300 species hung together, no longer arranged by power or status, but in the order they had joined the new alliance. Earth's flag hung among them, not at the top, not at the bottom. Just one more star in a galaxy of stars. Admiral Tejo Quan stood at the speaker's platform. He wore simple clothes now, the uniform of a soldier who had put down his weapons. The war was over, and he had a new role to play. 1 year ago, he began, humanity went to war. We did not want war. We spent 40 years trying to earn peace, but peace was denied to us because those in power believed we were not worthy of respect. The assembly was silent. Many remembered the chaos of the past year, the battles, the fear, the complete reshaping of galactic civilization. Today I announce that the rebuilding is complete. The new galactic charter has been signed by every member species. The era of empires is over. The era of equality has begun. Applause filled the hall. Not the mocking laughter of the old council, but genuine celebration. Species that had been slaves a year ago now had votes equal to their former masters. Worlds that had been colonies now governed themselves. Ambassador Jian stepped forward to explain the charter. She had spent months creating. Every species, regardless of age or power, would have one vote. No species could hold another in bondage. Trade would be fair with tariffs based on economic reality rather than political punishment. Military forces would be limited equally, and those limits would be enforced. This charter is not perfect, Guion admitted. No document can solve every problem, but it is fair. It treats every species as worthy of respect. And unlike the old treaties, it was written by those it governs, not imposed by those who ruled. Empress Talitha rose to second the charter. Her alliance with humanity had cost her power, but gained her something more valuable: a galaxy where her grandchildren would live as equals rather than subjects. In the corner of the hall, Moroth watched in silence. His sentence had been decided by a court of species he once considered beneath notice. He would live, but he would watch. Every day, he would see the prosperity of those he had oppressed. Every day, he would remember his words: "Know your place, little species." He knew now that humans had always known their place. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to claim it. After the ceremony, Dr. Sung Woo-han stood before a smaller audience. Scientists and engineers from 100 worlds had gathered to witness an important moment. "The nullifier," Dr. Sung Woo said, holding up the black sphere that had changed the galaxy. "This device gave us the power to erase any agreement. It could destroy civilizations with the push of a button. It is the most dangerous technology ever created." He placed the sphere on a platform in the center of the room. "Today we destroy it." The audience gasped. Such a weapon would make its owner invincible. Why would anyone give up such power? "We destroyed the old treaties because they were unfair," Dr. Sung Woo explained. "We will not keep a weapon that could destroy fair agreements just as easily." The new charter was written properly. It does not need to be protected by fear. He pressed a button. The black sphere dissolved into dust. "From now on, our agreements will be honored because they deserve to be honored, not because we are afraid of what happens if they are broken." The scientists applauded. Many did not fully understand the decision, but they recognized its significance. Humanity had gained the power to control the galaxy and had chosen to give that power away. Across the galaxy, former slave worlds celebrated their first year of freedom. On one such world, a young girl attended school for the first time in her species' history. Her grandmother had been born in chains. Her mother had lived in fear, but she would grow up free. With opportunities her ancestors could not have imagined. Her teacher was a human volunteer, one of thousands who had come to help rebuild what the old empires had destroyed. The teacher did not speak the local language well, and the girl did not understand much English. But they learned together, laughing at their mistakes, celebrating their progress. This was happening across hundreds of worlds. Humans building schools, hospitals, and power plants, not to control, but to help. Not to conquer, but to heal. Captain Bora Shin, the fighter pilot who had destroyed a Keth dreadnought, now commanded a training academy. Her students came from a dozen species, including 3 young Keth who wanted to prove that their people could be more than warriors. "The war is over," Biora told them on their first day. "You are not training to fight each other. You are training to protect each other. When the next threat comes, and threats always come, we will face it together." Students, who a year ago would have been enemies, nodded as one Admiral Taeho held his final meeting with Jian before stepping down from military command. The war was won, and soldiers needed to make way for builders. "Was it worth it?" Jian asked. "The deaths, the destruction, the fear, was it worth it?" Taeho considered the question carefully. "Ask me in 100 years. If the peace holds, if the charter works, if species that were slaves are now truly free, then yes, it was worth it. And if it fails, then we try again. Humanity has always been good at that. We fail, we learn, we try again. It is how we went from caves to stars." Gian smiled. "They called us mayflies." They did. But mayflies have survived longer than most species in this galaxy. We will survive this too. The final scene took place on Velos Prime, in the hall where humanity had once been mocked. A ceremony was held to dedicate a new monument, a simple stone marker, bearing a recording of the original humiliation, Morith's dismissive wave, Vornice's insults, the laughter as human astronauts died on ancient screens, all of it preserved, not to shame those who had done it, but to remind everyone of why things had changed. Ambassador Hannah, the woman who had stood alone in that hall and been laughed at, placed her hand on the monument. She was retired now, her work done, but she had asked to be present for this moment. I was so angry that day, she said quietly. I wanted to scream, to fight, to hurt them the way they had hurt us. But I did not. I walked away and trusted that others would know what to do. She stepped back and looked at the hall, now filled with representatives who saw each other as equals. This is what we built from that anger. Not revenge. Not destruction. Something better. Something that will last. The monument was activated. Anyone could come and watch the recording. Anyone could see what the galaxy had been and understand why it had changed above Velo's prime. Ships from 30 species patrolled together. Human pilots flew alongside Velan navigators and Keth gunners and Sylvan engineers. The fleet that had once been a symbol of human rage was now a symbol of galactic unity. Somewhere in that fleet, Captain Biora looked out at the stars. She thought about her grandmother, who had watched the first human walk on the moon. She thought about the astronauts whose deaths had been mocked by the Council. She thought about all the humans who had dreamed of reaching the stars. We made it, she whispered. We finally made it. The stars stretched out before her, endless and full of possibility. Humanity had earned its place among them, not through war alone, but through the choice to be better than those who had wronged them. The galaxy had learned its lesson. They would not laugh at humanity again. But more importantly, humanity had learned something too. They had learned that power without mercy is just cruelty. That victory without justice is just conquest. That respect must be earned, but must also be given. The story was not over. Stories never really end. But this chapter was complete. Earth had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as equals, and that was enough.